If you have never ridden a motorcycle at high altitude before, this video might help you a lot and also prevent some serious mistakes. So if you have nothing to do, grab your favorite drink and stay with me. Welcome back. Not many people get the chance or even want to ride at high altitude. But if it happens to you, it is much better to be prepared. As I have said many times before, preparation is the key to success. High altitude is not a joke and it has to be taken seriously. Otherwise, you can expect problems. Some of them will be manageable, others can force you to turn around or quit completely. Things like power loss, heavy breathing or dizziness might sound harmless when you read about them online or watch videos on YouTube, but when they hit you in real life, believe me, it is hard. Now, I will never accept a health advice from a sick doctor, a fitness plan from an overweight instructor, or financial advice from a homeless person. That's why I feel obligated to share my own experience with riding at high altitude. Over the last few years, I have ridden some very high mountain roads. Zozila Pass, India, 3,500 meters. Namikala, India, 3,718 meters. Fatula Top, India, 4,108 meters. Babusar Top, Pakistan, 4,173 meters. Akbaital Pass, Tajikistan, 4,665 meters. Nikela Pass, India, 4,739 meters. Kunjara Pass, Pakistan, 4,880 meters. Tanglanga, India, 5,328 meters. Kardunla, India, 5,602 meters. And during my last trip around South America, I crossed the 4,000-meter line many times, climbing up to 5,100 meters on several occasions. As you can see, I have enough experience to talk about this topic, and I believe that what I'm about to share can help you one way or another. You also need to understand something very important. Your physical condition, even if you are very fit, won't help you much at high altitude. Thinking that being a big, strong and tough guy will make the things easier is completely wrong, and it can put you in a serious danger. In fact, the bigger you are, the harder it usually is, because your body needs more oxygen. Smaller and lighter people often adapt much faster to these conditions. The perfect example are Himalayan Sherpas. The same applies to native people in Chile, Peru and Bolivia who live in the high Andes. Most of them are very short. Funny fact, many local women were shorter than Plamen and me, even when we were sitting. When there isn't enough oxygen, nothing grows properly. No trees, no vegetation, no flowers, and as I said, even people are affected. Now, once you understand all of this, the next very logical question is, what can you actually do to go through these areas more easily? The first and maybe the most important thing of all is this: you need time to acclimatize. How much time you will need depends on many different factors. How big you are, have you been on high altitude before, what is your physical condition, what elevation you start from, and many more. The altitude at which you will start feeling changes also varies. Some people feel it after 2,000 meters. I personally notice differences after 3,500 meters, but everyone is different. As I already told you, Sherpas are perfectly fine on 6,000 or 7,000 meters. At 4,000 meters, I am usually okay. Last year in South America, I even did 50 push-ups at that level, and I was perfectly fine for many hours, but later the same day, even after descending to 3,800 meters, I felt completely smashed. Ideally, you should spend at least a few days at every new altitude above 3,000 meters before you continue climbing higher. And when you have to move up, avoid drastic jumps. For example, instead of going from 3,000 meters to 5,000 meters for one day, do it for a few days, even week if possible. Let me give you a few real examples. In 2015, I was riding the Pamir highway in Tajikistan. One day, we made a very fast climb from about 2,000 meters to 4,600 meters in just a few hours. Because of that, the altitude hit me like a punch in the face. Believe me, I know what I'm talking about. I have had more than enough punches in the face in my life. When you feel so bad, the solution is to go down. But in our case, we had to spend an entire week riding at that altitude before descending. The first few days were very tough. Constant headache and dizziness. I felt sleepy, but I couldn't sleep well during the night. I didn't want to eat, even though I ate almost nothing for 3-4 days. The only time when I actually felt okay was while riding, because somehow at that moment I had to concentrate and focus on the ride. A few years later, I climbed to 5,600 meters in India and I felt perfectly fine. The difference was simple. I did it slowly over about a week. Instead of riding directly from Delhi to Leh, I took the long route through Srinagar. It was a nightmare to ride here, but it gave me exactly the time I needed to acclimatize. The problem is that in most cases we simply don't have enough time, or there is no place where you can spend a few days, for example. And this forces to ride even more, even further, understanding that in general this is not good at all. I have made this mistake more than once, but I can tell you this. In almost every situation there is alternative. With a better plan made in advance, you can easily avoid all of these problems. Number 2. Drink more water. When riding at high altitude, you should never stop drinking water. Just because it is not hot doesn't mean that you don't need it. Actually, it is exactly the opposite. Because of faster breathing and more frequent urination, you lose water much quicker than under normal conditions. Dehydration happens fast. Water also helps your body transport oxygen more efficiently. And when you're dehydrated, your blood becomes thicker and oxygen is harder to move through your system. Simply said, you need water to breathe properly. But there is another problem. The more water you drink, the more you pee. And the more you pee, the more electrolytes you lose, especially sodium. I have mentioned this in one of my previous videos, but it's worth repeating. In the movie Everest, one of the characters said something like the human body is not designed to live at the altitude of Boeing 777. And that's true. After a certain elevation, we slowly fight against nature. I understand that you are not going to ride on Everest, me either, but it is important to get the idea. Drink more water, add some electrolytes on it, and your body will handle high altitude much easier. Number 3. Specific foods helps at high altitude. There are some medications that reduce altitude symptoms, I know that, but I never use them, and because of that I cannot recommend them. I prefer to rely on what I have learned from my experience. Dry apricots helps a lot. They are very rich on potassium and also contain some magnesium, which helps balance what you lose through urination and sweating. Salty foods are also very useful. Cheese, pickles, even simple chips. They help restore sodium levels. But always try to eat a real food during your stops, not just snacks. In South America, for example, locals chew coca leaves. They put them in their mouth like this, and they chew it all day long. So the first person that I saw like this, I thought that it has some kind of tooth pain. But actually it's not. It's a coca leaves. Roll it like that. In the middle they put some small stone or wooden stick so they cannot chew it completely, just to suck the juices from it, and they say that it helps with high altitude. I never tried by myself and I cannot really confirm it, but this practice has existed for thousands of years and I believe that there is a reason for that. Number 4. Be careful what you drink. Coffee and tea are diuretics. High altitude and cold weather already dehydrate you enough and you don't need extra help losing important fluids and electrolytes. Many will say that coffee or tea gives them energy, maybe, but it comes at your body expense. Alcohol is another thing to be careful with. If you really cannot go without it, fine, drink a little, but just remember, you will feel it stronger at high altitude, it will also dehydrate you and it will slow recovery. Number 5. Never go alone. I have broken this rule myself more than once. Looking back now, I understand how easily things could have ended badly. If you feel sick, for example, you might need to stop and ask for help. The problem is that the traffic in those areas usually is not existing at all. You might need to wait hours, even days, without seeing anyone. Phone signal or internet could be also impossible. A riding partner can make a huge difference and in some situations can literally save your life. For example, if you have altitude sickness, the only cure is to go down. But if you don't feel well, if you're not feeling well at the moment, you cannot ride and you will definitely need help. Altitude is not a joke and everyone who underestimates it learned that the hard way. Number 6. Don't stay longer than necessary. A few minutes or maybe an hour is more than enough to enjoy the place, make some photos and videos and everything that you like. After that, go down to a safer elevation. Avoid sleeping there unless it's absolutely necessary. Always keep in mind that when you finally reach the desired elevation, you will probably feel fine. Adrenaline and excitement helps, but the altitude catches up later. You will feel much worse in the evening and even worse on the next morning. And it usually doesn't improve for at least a couple of days. I know this from my personal experience. Number 7. Wear the right clothes. Synthetic materials, proper layers. I have already explained all of this in my How to Ride in the Cold video, and if you haven't seen it yet, you can do it from here. Number 8. Nothing is more important than your life. You can always have more adventures and climb many more high elevation passes and reach high altitude, especially if you prepare better next time. But you cannot return the time back. Follow these tips and you'll have many stories to tell your grandkids. Now, the last 2 points are about the motorcycle, but indirectly they are also about you, because it's a motorcycle trip, right? And without it, you can't make it. Number 9. Power loss. Your motorcycle also suffers from lack of oxygen. Even fuel-injected bikes lose noticeable power. That's normal. With the carburetor models, things get more serious. After 3000 meters, you'll need to adjust the mixture. If you don't know how to do that, learn it before the trip, because you will definitely need it. As altitude increases, the problems get worse, and eventually, on some stage, the engine won't even start. And if you don't know how to do it, and there is no one around, you will stuck with a big problem. And also don't forget that when you go down, you have to adjust everything to the original settings. Otherwise, the engine won't work again. So this is something that you have to know in advance. Number 10. Fuel consumption increases. This is especially noticeable on air-cooled engines. As altitude increases, temperature drops and the engine can't reach the optimal operating temperature. That doesn't prevent riding, but fuel consumption can increase dramatically. Keep this in mind, especially in the areas without many petrol stations. Running out of petrol is something that you don't want to experience. I hope that this video will help to at least one person. Press like or dislike, whatever it deserves. If you subscribe, even better. See you in the next one.